The sun is rising over the frozen suburbs of the Greater Toronto Area on this cold morning of January 25th, 2026. To the untrained eye, it looks like a normal Sunday. The driveways are shoveled, the cars are parked, and the curtains are drawn tight against the winter chill. But behind those curtains, inside thousands of homes across this country, a nightmare is unfolding. A silent, suffocating nightmare that is far worse than high interest rates or inflation numbers on a screen. The nightmare is physical. It is a piece of paper taped to the front door or a registered letter sitting unopened on the kitchen counter because the owner is too terrified to look at the return address. It is not a bill. It is not a friendly reminder. It is a notice of sale under mortgage. In the United States, they call it foreclosure, and the process is often a long, drawn-out judicial battle that can take years. But here in Canada, specifically in provinces like Ontario and the Atlantic region, we have a much more efficient, much more ruthless system called power of sale, and the clock on that system moves faster than you can possibly imagine. From the moment that letter lands in your trembling hands, you do not have years. You do not have months. You have roughly 35 days. 35 days to come up with hundreds of thousands of dollars, or the bank takes the keys, changes the locks, and sells your home from under you. We are not talking about hypothetical scenarios anymore. The courts are flooded. The sheriff's offices are booked solid for weeks in advance. We are witnessing the beginning of eviction day in Canada. The grace period is over. The banks have stopped negotiating. They are now liquidating. If you think this can't happen to you because you've never missed a payment before, you need to listen closely. The rules of the game have changed, and the banks are playing to win. Let's look at the cold, hard evidence because the real estate boards are trying desperately to hide the scale of this carnage. They want to keep consumer confidence high so you keep buying into the market, but we look at the data they don't publish. In January 2026, the number of properties listed under power of sale provisions in the GTA and Metro Vancouver has spiked by over 200% compared to last year. This is a statistical explosion. It signifies that the wall of worry we talked about in 2025 has finally breached. Why now? Because the timeline of failure is mathematical. People held on as long as they could. They burned through their savings in 2024. They maxed out their credit cards in 2025. But you cannot fight math forever. Now, in early 2026, the dam has broken. Thousands of households have missed their third or fourth mortgage payment. That is the trigger. The bank's algorithm flags the account, the file is sent to the legal department, and the button is pushed. There is no human being on the other end crying for you. It is an automated execution of a contract. We are also seeing a massive surge in private lender power of sales. This is the shadow market. When people couldn't qualify for the big banks 2 years ago, they went to private lenders who charge 12 or 15% interest. Those one-year terms are up, and the lenders aren't renewing. They want their capital back immediately. These private lenders are ruthless. They don't care about bad press. They will evict a family in the middle of winter without hesitation. Most Canadians do not understand the difference between a foreclosure and a power of sale, and that ignorance is going to cost them everything. In a judicial foreclosure, the bank has to go to court and get a judge's permission to take title. It is slow. But in a power of sale, the bank simply takes the right to sell the property to recover their debt. They act as the seller. Let's walk through the reality of what happens in those 35 days so you can feel the pressure tightening. It starts slowly. You miss your payment. You get aggressive phone calls. You ignore them because you are ashamed. Around day 15, the file is transferred to the bank's legal counsel. You are now responsible for their legal fees. Every email they send you costs you hundreds of dollars added to your mortgage balance. Then, usually around day 16, the notice of sale under mortgage is issued. This spells out exactly how much you owe. Principal, interest, and costs. It gives you a redemption period, usually 35 days. This is the countdown. By day 20, you are panicking. You try to list the house yourself, but the market is dead. Buyers smell blood. They offer you lowball prices that won't cover the mortgage. By day 30, the bank sends appraisers to your house. They value the house low to ensure a quick sale. This low appraisal seals your fate. Then, the redemption period expires. The bank now has the legal right to take possession. If you are still in the house, they file for a writ of possession, and finally, the sheriff arrives. This is the part HGTV never shows you. The sheriff shows up, usually early in the morning, accompanied by a locksmith. They knock on the door. If you don't open it, they drill the lock. The sound of the drill destroying your front door lock is a sound you will never forget. They come in armed and uniformed. They tell you that you are now trespassing. You have minutes to grab your essentials and get out. You stand on the sidewalk, shivering, watching the locksmith install a new deadbolt. A secure lockbox is placed on the door handle. A bank sale sign goes up on the lawn. Your furniture, your photos, your life is still inside. You are now homeless. You have to negotiate with the bank's lawyer just to get back in for a supervised visit to retrieve your winter coat. It is the ultimate humiliation. But the nightmare doesn't end when you lose the house. This is the biggest myth in Canada. People think at least the debt is gone. Wrong. In Canada, we have full recourse mortgages. Here is the math of the slaughter. Let's say you bought a house for $1 million in 2021. You have an $800,000 mortgage. The market crashes and the house is now worth $800,000. But wait, you haven't paid your mortgage in 6 months. Interest has accumulated. The legal fees are $20,000. The realtor commission is $40,000. The penalties are $10,000. You now owe the bank $900,000. The bank sells the house at a discount because it's a distress sale. It sells for $750,000. The math. You owe $900,000. The bank got $750,000. There is a shortfall of $150,000. Does the bank forgive this? Absolutely not. They obtain a deficiency judgment against you. This turns your mortgage debt into an unsecured personal debt. They will pursue you for this money for the rest of your life. They will garnish your wages. They will seize your car and your savings. They will destroy your credit rating for 7 years. You lost the house, you lost your down payment, and you still owe a massive fortune. This is a wealth destruction event that wipes out entire bloodlines of middle-class stability. There is another group of victims, the tenants. Imagine you are a renter. You pay your rent on time. You think you are safe. But your landlord is an investor who is over-leveraged. He hasn't been paying the mortgage, even though he's been collecting your rent. One day, the sheriff knocks on your door. Who are you? They ask. I'm the tenant, you say. Not anymore, they reply. In many power of sale situations, the bank evicts the tenants to sell the property vacant because it is worth more money. So you, the innocent tenant, get an eviction notice. You have done nothing wrong, but you are collateral damage. We are seeing thousands of renters in Toronto and Vancouver being thrown onto the street because their landlords went bust. This is contributing to the homelessness crisis. These people enter a rental market that is already full, with bad credit checks because of the eviction chaos. This is how the housing crash destroys the social fabric of the city. Who is to blame for this disaster? We need to look directly at the leadership. The Bank of Canada, under Tiff Macklem, and the federal government, under Justin Trudeau, created a moral hazard of epic proportions. They kept interest rates artificially low for too long. They engineered a culture of FOMO. They watched as housing prices detached from reality, and they did nothing. They allowed the banks to hand out mortgages to people who could barely afford them at 1.5%. They knew rates would rise. They knew the stress test wasn't enough. Now, the regulators are suddenly waking up. The Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions is tightening the rules now, right when people are drowning. It's like throwing an anchor to a drowning man. The banks themselves are complicit. They have huge departments dedicated to asset recovery, a polite word for taking your stuff. Notice how quickly they moved to increase their loan loss provisions in the last quarterly report. They set aside billions because they knew this eviction day was coming. They prepared themselves, but they left you defenseless. And let's not forget the predatory shadow flippers. These are investors with cash who sit like vultures waiting for the power of sale notices. They approach desperate homeowners on day 20 of the redemption period. They offer a private deal to pay off your mortgage if you sign the deed to them. It sounds like a lifeline, but it is a trap. It's a sale-leaseback scam. They charge exorbitant fees and high rent, eventually evicting you anyway once the equity is drained. But desperate people do desperate things. The desperation in the market is palpable. The sharks are circling because they know the water is full of blood. The impact of this wave of listings crashes the entire market. Banks are terrible sellers. They don't stage homes. They shut off utilities. They list properties as is. This creates a stigma. Buyers wonder what is wrong with the house, so the bank lowers the price again and again. This drags down the comparables for the entire neighborhood. If your neighbor is a bank-owned foreclosure selling for 20% less, your house is now worth 20% less. The power of sale listings are the poison in the water supply of the real estate market. Finally, we must acknowledge the psychological toll. We are talking about broken families. Financial stress is the #1 cause of divorce. When the power of sale notice arrives, the fighting begins. Marriages are crumbling under the weight of this debt. We are seeing a rise in mental health crises. The shame of losing a home is profound. In our culture, homeownership is tied to success. Losing it feels like a failure of character. Men, in particular, feel a loss of their role as provider. The government offers no counseling for this. The bank offers no therapy. They just offer a date by which you must vacate. This is a silent epidemic of despair running parallel to the economic crisis. So, what happens next? The backlog in the courts is the only thing slowing this down. But the banks are hiring more lawyers and using AI to streamline the eviction notices. We expect the number of evictions to peak in the spring and summer of 2026. By spring, there is nothing left to cut. The tax refunds will be seized by the CRA to pay other debts. There is no rescue coming. If you are watching this and you are one payment behind, or if you are using your credit card to pay your mortgage, you are in the danger zone. You are standing on the train tracks and the train is coming. You need to understand that the bank is not your friend. The system is designed to extract value from you until there is nothing left. You need to take action before the letter arrives. Consider selling voluntarily. Even if you sell at a loss, it is better than a power of sale because you control the process and save $50,000 in legal fees. Talk to a licensed insolvency trustee, not a debt consultant, and whatever you do, do not sign with private sharks. If someone knocks on your door offering a quick fix, slam the door. The warnings we gave last year about the mortgage cliff were ignored. They called us fearmongers. Well, look at the MLS listings today. Look at the power of sale clauses. Look at the empty driveways. The fear is real. The cliff is here. We are watching the disintegration of the middle-class ownership model. Canada is turning into a nation of renters, serving a landlord class of massive corporations who will buy up these distressed properties for pennies on the dollar. The transfer of wealth is happening in plain sight. This is eviction day. It is not a single day on the calendar. It is an era where security is an illusion and debt is a weapon. The notices are in the mail. The sheriffs are gassing up their cars. It is a grim industrial process of failure. If you want to survive this, you need to be liquid, mobile, and informed. Stop listening to the real estate agents who tell you it's always a good time to buy. Ask them about the power of sale stats. Ask them about the deficiency judgments. See if they tell you the truth. If they don't, come back here. Protect yourself, protect your family, and for God's sake, open your mail. Ignoring the notice won't stop the sheriff. It only speeds up the countdown. Subscribe to Canada Property Watch. We are documenting the crash as it happens, one eviction notice at a time. The truth is ugly, but it's the only thing that can save you now.